all of you who have joined this meeting. So I am very much pleased to welcome you all. I am audible to you all?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So very good afternoon. And on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India, I am welcoming you all on the international webinar on the very sacred topic, environmental ethics, with a special reference to life of the Buddha. This topic has been chosen by Mahabodhi Society of India for this 2567 birth anniversary of Lord Buddha. So we are going to welcome all of you, and I welcome our President, Mahabodhi Society of India, Professor Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, as well as a trustee member of all the Mahabodhi Society of India, all the members of the governing body, all the life members of Mahabodhi Society of India. I also welcome Professor Baidyanath Lal, Vice Chancellor, Nalanda Mahavihar, Nalanda. I am also welcoming Professor S.C. Saha, ex-Vice Chancellor of Assam University, Central University, Silchar. I am also welcoming Professor our Professor G.S. Somratne, Center for Buddhist Studies, Hong Kong Buddhist University. I, on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India, I welcome you all of you here. I also welcome Venerable Dr. Paiya Lok Vadinagala from the Postgraduate Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Colombo, Sri Lanka. I also welcome most venerable Bhikkhuni Santani from Indonesia. She is also going to present her views on this very topic. And all of the Upasak Upasikas and Dhammajivi who have joined this, and the lovers of Buddhism who have joined this international webinar on environmental ethics, with a special reference to life and teachings of the Buddha. So I hand over to our President, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, to conduct this webinar. And on the basis of the serial number which has been given and has been sent to our Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, he can ask or request the speakers of this conference. So I hand over to Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, President. Thank you very much. Over to Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Vimalendra Ji. On behalf of this past occasion of the 2567th Buddha Purnima of the Lord Buddha, and on this occasion, this international event has been organized by the Mahabodhi Society of India. Bhante, Venerable Bhante P. Shivli Thero, General Secretary of Mahabodhi Society of India, and several eminent and distinguished speakers have been requested and invited to share their valuable time to put their views to enlighten and give some vital informations to all of us on this occasion. I welcome all the speakers, conveners, and the chief guests, etc., and the all audience members on this occasion. First of all, I would like to invite Sri Kiran Lamaji, the treasurer of the Mahabodhi Society of India, who will give his welcome and introduction address to the event. Sri Kiran Lamaji.
Excuse me, sir. Sri Kiran Lamaji is not present due to some urgent preoccupation.
Can I honorably invite Sri Bimlendra Kumarji instead of Sri Kiran Lamaji to give the welcome address? Sri Bimlendra Kumarji.
Yes, sir.
You please, because Kiran Lama is being said unavailable.
Okay. Okay,
I
thank you
request
very much.
to give the welcome introduction of the guest in the very short.
Let me just a minute. Venerable Bhikkhuni Santani is wishing to give some message. Just a minute. So, first of all, let me ask our chief guest of this international webinar, Professor Baidyanath Lal, to present his views on this topic, environmental ethics, with a special reference to teachings of the Buddha and the life of the Buddha also. So I request Professor Baidyanath Lal. Over to Professor Baidyanath Lal ji, sir.
Namo Buddhaya. A very important topic for discussion has been fixed up for this on this occasion. So let me start my speech with the honoring of Venerable Shivali Theroji, Professor Subhash Chandra Saha ji, Professor Somaratna ji, my friend, Professor Bimlendra Kumar, Dr. Mahendra Singh ji, Shri Jayant Khandare ji, Venerable Vadnagala Panyaluk ji, Dr. Dilip Kumar Barua ji, Bhante Gyanalok ji, and all learned participants. Let me express my very best wishes and hearty greetings on the occasion of the Buddha Purnima. Needless to repeat that this symbolizes the three very important occasions of the Buddha's life: his birth, his enlightenment, and his Mahaparinirvana. Whatever the Buddha did, howsoever he lived, particularly after enlightenment for 45 years, his whole life was dedicated for the well-being of human beings. Not only human beings, but better to say the all beings. And since human beings are the most intelligent beings on this earth, the only being having the capacity of thinking, remembering his past, thinking of the present, and planning for the future. So, having these qualities, human beings are not supposed to live for their own bread and butter. Rather, they have some extra responsibilities towards his family, towards his society, towards his state, towards his nation, and towards the whole humanity. Humanity does not mean only human beings. It is a general sense that it encompasses all the beings, the whole atmosphere that we live in. Although there was no crisis of environmental problem or environmental pollution at the Buddha's time, as we see in his own case, and we very repeatedly say that he was a resident of Himalayan state in the Tarain of Himalayas, covering UP and modern Nepal. He was born in a jungle, in a forest of Lumini. He switched over, he shifted to, after his renunciation, he came to Vaishali, meditated under R.R. Kalam, and later on Udrak Ramputra, and got enlightenment in the forest of Uruvela, the modern Bodh Gaya. And ultimately, he preferred to stay in the forest, and hutments provided to him by his followers, by his devotees, and ultimately he passed away under the twin sal trees. So these we know, we repeatedly say. Some happenings must have occurred or might have occurred incidentally. But what he said, how he lived, what he talked about the environment, that is more important. A person, even during those days, some 2600 years ago, which did not face any environmental problem, he deliberately say that don't break a tree of a living, some branches of a living tree. Don't cut the fruit giving trees. Be conscious. Do respect your trees, your forest. He praises the Uruvela forest, the Rajgrih, and the environment. He was in the tradition of Rishi tradition, Rishi Parampara of our country. And he knew the importance of forest, how much peace it gives. He knew very well that forests are the ideal place for meditation. This we find in the whole Bharatiya tradition. All the rishis, all the seers, most of them, they are seen living in the forest, in the small hutments, in their ashrams and all that. So whatever we gain, we get as fruits, as grains, as vegetables, they are available, or they are given by these trees or these creepers. So the Buddha was very much conscious about all these surroundings. And even today, when we visit Buddhist caves, we find that the followers They constructed those Karle caves, Bhaja caves, Kanheri caves, and many other caves suitably so that they could live in solitude and they could meditate. They could get easy concentration. They could develop concentration peacefully. So solitude and forest, greenery, they occupy very important place, and the Buddha has repeatedly told at different places in different contexts in the Pali text, in the Tripitaka. Today, of course, we do not have that much pure environment to live, but why such things are happening? Do we ever introspect whether we are ourselves responsible for these debacle, these problems? Today, we have pollution-free air, and there are oxygen clubs in big cities where people go for 1 hour or 2 hours. They pay for pure oxygen. They install oxygen or air purifier. Why? Why it is happening so? In the ancient days, or even in the villages, in the countryside, if we go, we find purer atmosphere because there are forests, there are trees, there are orchards. Whereas in the big cities, a jungle, a forest of concrete are coming up day by day, and we feel suffocated. Although we may have lot of facilities in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, etc. But why we feel suffocated? Despite having all facilities, we have very good houses, we have very good or very costly cars, so many things we have, but still we feel suffocated. We don't find fresh air. The Buddha was not simply a common seer or common sannyasi. If a person with far-sightedness, and that is why he time and again he instructed his disciples to live friendly with the forest, with the rivers, with the mountains, with the whole environment, and to take care of such things. We find a whole chapter dedicated to environment in the Milind Paiha. Of course, Milind Paiha is a text written after the demise of the Buddha, but the last chapter, that is Opamma Katha, there 104 living organisms and non-living things, they have been mentioned. And Nagsen explains how a Buddhist monk can take good lessons from the nature, from the objects which are available all around us. He proves that nature is our best teacher. Even we can take good lessons from a crow, from a squirrel, from a lizard, from cheetah, panther, from the objects or the living objects which we usually ignore. Even they can teach us how to live in a perfect understanding with the nature. The Pali text, we can go to different suttas. Although Abhidhamma Pitaka is a purely different types of literature, analysis of mind and body, psychoethics. But Vinay Pitak, the text of Vinay Pitak and Sutta Pitak, number of discourses, number of suttas are there which throw light on our perfect understanding, how to develop a perfect understanding and care for our surrounding, for our nature, for our forests. So, of course, at that time, at the time of the Buddha, there was no such crisis. But how to avert crisis, how to keep our crisis away, that we can learn from the Buddha's lessons, Buddha's teachings, and Buddha's lifestyle. Today, I was just reading a newspaper that Cape Town in South Africa has been declared waterless city, and bath has been prohibited. For 1 week, you can get a few liters of water, 50 or something like that, and you have to live with that. Why? This is the example how in the name of development of cities and modern facilities, we have ignored our nature. We have all intention to develop materially, but we don't realize that if we don't get fresh air to breathe, can we live? Can very costly cars save us? Can all facilities save us, save our life? Can they allow us to live for a longer time? So, environmental concern or environmental awareness is very much important and very much necessary. And ethics, environmental ethics, we are talking, the theme of today's deliberation, environmental ethics. Ethics is not simply for oneself, for me, for myself. We have to live in the society, we have to live with others, and we have to give a space for others' comfortable living. If we think for ourselves only, then that goes against the spirit of the Buddha, because we find that he, despite getting the highest knowledge, the perfect enlightenment, he does not resort to the forest. Rather, he came to the society. Of course, initially, for 7 weeks, he stayed at Bodh Gaya. We know about from Mahabharata and the Atkathas and other texts. But on the request of Sampati Brahma, he agreed to share his knowledge, share his wisdom with others. And that resulted in the happening of the first Buddhist council. And we know that when the number of his disciples reached 60 and all became arhat, all became free from any bondage of lust, greed, and hatred, he instructed them to spread into different directions. Tartha bhikkave charikang bahujan hitaya bahujan sukhaya lokanukampaya athaya hitaya sukhaya damanus devamanasam. Dedicate your whole life in the service of mankind. Don't stop. Charath. You have to survive, but your survival should be meant for the society, for the whole human beings. Bahujan hitaya bahujan sukhaya. Maximum good for maximum people. He did not stop anywhere. He did not put any full stop. go on, go on, go on. And that is the Buddhist ethics. Your life is not meant for yourself. Today, everywhere in our society, of course, it's not a new problem, new phenomenon, but we find that people have become so much narrow-minded. I, only I and my. If we do not go beyond that, then what will happen? Others will also think of I and my. Then can we survive? Can there be peaceful existence, coexistence? Can there be friendliness and goodwill? Not possible. That is why the Buddhist ethics remains or contains the sense of metta, the sense of karuna, the sense of mudita, and for oneself, upeksha bhava, equanimity. So with equanimity and with the sense of mudita, one has to live for others. Our life is not meant for ourselves only. It is meant for the whole society, for the whole all well-being of all. So with these ethics, the Buddha reminds us of our concern for our environment, for the whole atmosphere we live in. I think if we do that, because it is very easy to preach, but very difficult to practice upon. But if we really and sincerely pay our homage to the Buddha, I think, and I believe rather, not only think, I believe that we must live for others, for the well-being of others. And only that will be a proper and true and sincere homage to the Lord on his this memorable day. With these words, I once again extend my all greetings to all of you for very happy Buddha Jayanti, and express my gratitude as well to the organizers, to the Mahabodhi Society of India, for inviting me to be with you and share some of my stray thoughts. Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you very much, sir.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much, sir, for your thoughtful and giving a wonderful teachings of the Buddha related with the nature and the environment. So next speaker, we are going to invite on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India as a guest of honor, Venerable Bhikkhuni Santani. She belongs to the Indonesia. She is the chief of the chief award of the monastery of the Bhikkhuni there, Bhikkhuni Aram there. So she is going to present her views on the spiritual dimensions and environmental education. So may I request Venerable Bhikkhuni Santani to present her views on spiritual dimensions and environmental educations. Venerable Bhikkhuni Santani ji.
Namo Buddhaya. First of all, I would like to pay respect to Bhante Visuali Mahatero and all my senior Sangha members. My dear Dharma sisters and Dharma brothers, ladies and gentlemen, we are already in May 2023 in the month of Vesak again. Once again, we need to commemorate the sacred events of the Buddha, our great teacher. 1 year has passed. We are all 1 year older. Hopefully, 1 year wiser. But definitely 1 year closer to heaven. Our lifetime which is already limited, is even more limited and shorter with the passing of time. So I hope every one of us realizes that not much time is left for us to live and say goodbye to bad karma, to do and say hello to good karma, and to purify our mind. So what? So we must once again and again feel blessed and feel happy because we are lucky to have been born in the human realm. We must have done many good deeds to attain this fortune. Otherwise, we may have been born in unhappy realms in the samsara. So what? So we must once again and again feel blessed and happy because we are lucky as human beings to have come in contact with the Buddha, who through his own efforts attained full enlightenment, and with Dhamma, his teaching, which shows us the way to the end of suffering, to liberation, to Nibbana. Dhamma has also taught us many aspects of life, which lead us to spiritual advancement. Dhamma has taught us how to live in harmony with other beings and with the environment we live in. So what? So we must once again and again feel blessed and happy because we are lucky to still be alive. That way we still have time to feel this precious time to practice Dhamma. More than that, we have even decided to choose to have a spiritual life as bhikkhunis or bhikkhus, as Sangha. Yes, and we're lucky to have decided to live a Dhamma life. My dear Dhamma sisters and brothers, spiritual dimensions and environment education is an interesting topic. As a bhikkhuni, I'm lucky to function well in society. With my understanding on spiritual life, indirectly, I can educate the society to live in harmony with the environment. My lifestyle as a bhikkhuni can be a living example for the people around me, Buddhists and non-Buddhists. One simple thing, for example, is living a simple life, knowing that we bhikkhuni and bhikkhu must also be teachers and educators to whoever comes in contact with us. That is also a good inspiration for us. We must be good bhikkhunis and bhikkhus. We must make sure that the people around us are inspired to live better and to live well according to Dhamma. We can show them that we also preserve environment. Besides trying very hard to cleanse our mind, we make sure that our viharas are also clean. For example, we put rubbish in the trash cans. We plant trees, we use vehicles with minimum emissions, etc. Bottom line, we must develop good, positive, useful habits. We must stop bad, negative, harmful habits, just like the 4 right efforts the Buddha taught. Environment education, which uplifts spiritual dimension, can be practiced by all levels of society, from children to adolescents, to adults, to old people. Environment education, which is accompanied by spiritual dimension, will motivate society to care and preserve the surrounding environment we are in. After all, we are the ones who must be responsible to take care of what happens around us. We are inevitably always connected to nature, to our karma and its fruits. So we can see that environment education with spiritual dimension has a very important role in building human awareness to preserve this one planet, which we all call home. We must realize that this home must still be in good conditions when we already pass away, and the next generation takes over, in order that this home is not harmed. The beings, especially human, who are living in it, must have spiritual awareness. Sadly, we must admit that other beings, excluding human, do not make as many harmful actions to this home. We must admit that we human beings have done so many harmful actions to destroy the peace, which should be our shields and protections if we want to be happy. So we see it is important for us to show how essential spirituality is in our lives and in everybody's lives. In the spiritual view, human beings have complete responsibility to take care of environment around us and environment in our mind included. We must struggle to make this built inside and outside us. One of the requirements to have peace is just like what the Buddha taught and showed, is living in alobha, adosa, and amoha, generosity, compassion, and wisdom. But if we see around with the technological progress and the one-click away daily life, now we find so many people tend to live in craving, in greed, or lobha, wanting so many things, but never feeling enough, wanting more and more, but by doing so, they feel more depressed and poor. They lose the way to happiness and peace, and the result is so pathetic. We now find many people, young and old, even want to commit suicide loss. We can easily find that so many people live in hatred, in anger, or dosa, and they are unable to sleep at night because their hearts are full of grudge and plans to take revenge to those who have hurt and harmed them. Some want to forget the painful feelings, and then they go to sleeping pills and alcohol and narcotics. Some run to drinks, and the result, damaged health, quarrels, even war. Alas, we can also find that so many people live in delusion, in wrong views, in selfishness or moha. They think that they are the most important being on the whole planet. They demand so many things from all people and all surroundings and all situations. They think they have all the rights to make use of whatever is available in this world, not knowing that they are also dependent on whatever lives on earth, trees, air, water, etc. Us. As a bhikkhuni, I am grateful that the Buddha has taught us many things in order to live in the dependency with other things and other beings in life. The Buddha is reminded us to be careful and mindful with what we do, even the simplest things. Yes, we must remember that there are traps and taints in everything there is. Thus, we should be always aware, always mindful, even in simple things we do or have. Here are some examples. The Buddha has reminded us to be careful in using things because there are traps, there are taints in them. Without this understanding, we will lose our spirituality and wisdom. Indeed, the Buddha has shown us in details what to do and what not to do. As clear example, let us see Sattva Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. In the sutta, we learn about things to be abandoned by using. What things bhikkhus should be abandoned by using? Here, a bhikkhu, reflecting wisely, uses the robe only for protection from cold, for protection from heat, from protection from contact with gadflies, mosquitoes, wind, the sun, and creeping things, and only for the purpose of concealing the private parts. Reflecting wisely, he uses alms food, neither for amusement, nor for intoxication, nor for the sake of physical beauty and attractiveness, but only for the endurance and continuance of this body, for ending discomfort and for assisting the holy life. Considering thus, I shall terminate old feelings without arousing new feelings, and I shall be healthy and blameless and shall live in comfort. Reflecting wisely, he uses the resting place only for protection from cold, for protection from heat, for protection from contact with gadflies, mosquitoes, wind, the sun, and creeping things, and only for the purpose of warding off the perils of climate and for enjoying retreat. Reflecting wisely, he uses the medicinal requisites only for protection from the result of fleeting feelings and for the benefit of good health. While pains, vexation, and fever might arise in one who does not use the requisites thus, there are no pains, vexation, or fever in one who uses them thus. These are called the taints that should be abandoned by using. Amazing, isn't it? Our great teacher has shown us the danger even in small things. We can imagine what danger there is in big things. My dear Dhamma sisters and brothers, ladies and gentlemen, I remember the time when one woman, then a new Buddhist, listened at all when she heard that we Sangha members are educated to reuse, reduce, and recycle things to live a Dhamma life in viharas. Old robes are reused as bed sheets, blankets, curtains, mats, or as cleaning cloth for cleaning putti and surroundings. In some areas, those rugs can then be mixed with building cements for reinforcement fiber. This recycled practice is one of many sustaining practices to help preserve the planet Earth we call home. Isn't it amazing that more than 2,500 years ago, the Buddha had taught us things we now find useful for environment? Therefore, in this occasion, I would like to emphasize again that we must live a good and simple life in order to work in harmony, hand in hand with what the Buddha taught. Let us improve our spiritual qualities through simple, practical things in daily life. Here are some examples. 1. Fewness of wishes, minimizing our wants and avoiding extravagant wishes. 2. Live simple, prioritizing basic essential needs. 3. Produce as little waste as possible. Use eco-friendly things and live in harmony with nature. 4. Cultivate land the best possible way. Use organic fertilizers. 5. Save energy. 6. Etc. Sustainable practice is very much in accordance with the teaching of the Buddha. The practice will ensure the ecological balance and at the same time will enhance the economical and social quality in society. It involves the efforts to reduce the use of natural resources, to increase the efficiency of energy use, to reduce the waste and pollution, and to build a better society in economic and social fields. We need to have the right, being right, not only human right. Every being, human and non-human, also has the rights to live well on this planet. That way, this planet Earth is kept in good conditions, even better, for our next generations to come. All of that is compiled in spiritual dimension. I hope you agree. Happy Vesak Day. May one day we celebrate our own liberation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much, Venerable Bhikkhuni Santani, for a wonderful presentation that how the things which are related with our nature, how they can be recycled, how they can be used for another purpose, and what are the spiritual qualities which can be developed by the monks and the nuns in the monastery. So thank you very much on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India. I thank you very much. Now we are having three speakers, honorable three speakers. So I would like to request our honorable speakers to present their views on different aspects of our environmental ethics within 15 to 20 minutes. So each speaker has been allotted only from 15 to 20 minutes. So our president is also reminded, and we have to finish this program within a time. So next honorable speaker, I am going to request Professor G.A. Somratne from Center of Buddhist Studies, University of Hong Kong. He is a very senior professor there. He has been director for Center for Buddhist Studies for a long time, for one term. And he is also associated with Tipitak project at Thailand also, and he has contributed a lot for development of Buddhist studies. So now I request Professor G.A. Somratne to present his views. Professor G.A. Somratne, thank you very much.
Hong Kong.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor.
University of Hong Kong.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Thank you, Professor Bimalendra Kumar, for the kind introduction. And also, thank you everybody at the Mahabodhi Society of India, Dr. Mahendra Singh, and President, and all members and professors, and venerable bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. So I would like to share a few words with regard to this topic, particularly when we consider the nature of the damage that we have been done to this, the environment as humanity. So we need to consider that this world is basically governed by various kinds of ideologies. And so those ideologies are more powerful than what we are really now presenting. The reason is that our voice is basically not heard because the world powers are basically with different ideologies. So as a result, they are mostly that caring for more than what basically what we are trying to say. So therefore, one important aspect that we need to consider is that how the Buddha explain the relationship between individual and the world. So particularly that in the West, that there is this discussion between mind and body relationship. So what kind of relationship is there? So some may say that they are two different realities. One may say that these two realities could be reduced to one. But in the case of the Buddha, Buddha particularly present that through his dependent co-arising, that things are interdependent. So the mind-body relationship is really a condition, and they are interrelated and interconnected. So Buddha basically used this word loka to imply the word the world, but actually at the same time the loka is also the individual. So there is no difference between the world and the individual. When we consider that, because individual is in relationship to the environment, and then environment, of course, the world, what we consider is in relationship to the individual. So there we need to really to coexist, and if we really understand that our who we are and our nature. So as the Buddha present to us, Buddha actually analyzes the our individual being into 5 clinging aggregates. So I think I don't need to explain them in detail, but you already know that aggregate of form or matter, an aggregate of feeling, an aggregate of perception, an aggregate of mental formations, an aggregate of consciousness. So the when Buddha explained these 5 aggregates, so 5 clinging aggregates, so they are basically groups, and then he said that we need to consider whether the matter, for example, if we take the matter, internal matter, external matter, the matter far away and close to us, and big and small type of matter, and everything, all these things need to be included within the aggregate of matter. And similarly with regard to the others as well, other things as well. But particularly what is relevant for us to discuss is this matter, right? So then when we discuss the matter, actually there is Buddha is basically presenting and explaining it in relationship to the individual. And then the individual, the world, the individual's world. So, for example, we have 6 senses. As the Buddha pointed out, we have eye sense base, and ear sense base, and nose sense base, tongue sense base, and body sense base, and the mind sense base. And then in relationship to the sense spaces, there are external sense objects. So what we consider as sights, sounds, smell, taste, and touches, or bodily impressions, and mental images. So then this relationship between the senses and the internal senses, and then the external sensory objects, this is what basically what Buddha is explaining us. So for example, when I consider my world, so my world and myself, basically there is no difference. Myself need to be explained together with my sensory objects. So sensory objects are not really separate from the senses, because all these things are basically in my cognitive process. So I will be cognizing those sensory objects. So therefore, when we consider the individual experience is basically with the external world. So there is no separate existence for us. So we are always conscious of sensory objects. So what Buddha point out as name and matter, or nama rupa. So nama rupa. So whenever we are cognizing these sensory objects, they are actually coming to us as sensory objects. These sensory objects mean that we have already given a name to them, and then we designate them. That is why nama. So therefore, whenever we are experiencing and perceiving this environment, we are attributing some of our feelings, perceptions, and our intentions. So therefore, when the individual is looking externally, that what he considers his sensory field or objective world, as normally we understand it, or environment, really we are looking at it based on how we feel about it, and how we perceive it, and how we intend with regard to them. So then this feeling, perception, and our intentions, they are basically shaped by various kinds of things. And so therefore, when I am cognizing my world of experience and environment, basically for me, depending on how I have been educated, how I have been perceived before, how I have been taught before, learned before, with regard to what are my ideologies behind them, all these things are coming into play with whenever I am experiencing the world. So Buddha says that we all are basically craving for things. So craving for sensuality, sensual pleasure. So the craving for sensuality means basically we are seeing these sensory objects, whatever we consider as sights, sounds, smell, taste, touches, and all these things that come as our environment. And all these things are basically, I am trying to derive some pleasure out of these sensory objects. So that is, therefore I crave for them, and I crave for my sensory objects. So sensory objects, when I crave for these things, basically I cling to them, I hold into them, and I become possessive of them. So all these things are basically working in my psychological structure. So therefore, as an individual people, when we are looking, when we consider our environment, so therefore, what we need to do is basically to reflect internally, and how I am looking at or experiencing my world. So whether I am experiencing my world, craving for things, craving for all these sensory objects or the environment, whatever the environment gives to me. And so if so, then I am going to grasp them. And because whenever I try to get these things, so those things basically make me, give me some satisfaction. So that satisfaction basically is not the end. So I will not be really satisfied with that. So when we try to fulfill our craving, what will happen is we crave for more. And when we get more, and we are really craving for more things and new things. So as a result, day by day, we are really consuming our environment. So there is no really escape as craving beings. So that is why Buddha is asking us to consider that you need to treat your craving and craving for things. So if you don't treat your craving, of course, you will be basically creating a lot of problems, and in the same time, a lot of suffering to yourself and to the others. So because of that, Buddha is basically asking us to reflect on our own life rather than externally. External world will be fine, and as long as we are internally correct ourselves, and we try to eliminate those cravings or even reduce those cravings, then that way we will be able to treat our environment also better, in a better way. Since I mentioned about this mind-body relationship is important aspect in this sense. So the Buddha is basically showing us that they are interdependent. So that interdependency is need to be understood. So whenever we say the mind and body, basically that mind-body is not really referring to the individual himself or herself, but together with the environment, So that is why Buddha used that word, world. So all these things that, according to the Buddha, they are dependently arising things, and they are basically Buddha called paticca samuppanna dhamma. So dependently arising things. Of course, this whatever the paticca samuppanna dhamma, the dependently arising things, they are subject to certain nature, subject to certain the characteristics, like they are impermanent. So they're impermanent in the sense that they are conditioned things. So then environment or individual, all these things are conditioned things. So whether we consider individuals or people, human beings, animals, trees, and air and water. So all these things are conditioned things. So then the very basic nature of all these conditioned things is that they are arising and ceasing, arising and ceasing. And of course, they could also be changed as human beings. So that is what human beings have been doing. So they are taking various positions with regard to the environment, and then they basically try to satisfy the human craving. So as a result, we are not really taking the environment as sort of a part of us, and that we are really mutually dependent on each other type, but really we are making them as an object. So object of our subject. So therefore I, in relationship to I, then my environment or these sensory objects become the object. So therefore there is this need for me that I want to dominate the world, so that that there is a strong desire and need of human beings, that they, because of this the idea that we are falsely identifying a self. So as a result, we want to have a dominion over our environment. So because of this, we don't care much about the ethics. So those ethics are really somewhat what make me happy, and so we don't care really to the others. So that is what, as according to the Buddha, so what I think that we need to really to understand how Buddha define this mind-body relationship, and how Buddha defined the individual nature, and how Buddha says that that environment is really included within our experiential world. They are not really separate from them. So therefore, how we treat the environment, that will basically affect us back. And that is why we need to suffer, as Professor Baidyanath mentioned that earlier, that sometimes you will also maybe don't care about, like, you will not have enough water to survive. So this means basically not only the individual beings, but also everyone has to suffer. So therefore, with these comments, I think I would like to stop and thank you very much for giving this opportunity. And also I want to make a special thanks to Venerable Sivali, Venerable Dr. Sivali, who sent me an invitation to join this event. So thank you very much, and it's a wonderful event for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor J. Somaratne ji, for your nice presentation on how our mind and matter are causally related, and how the objects are also related with our 6 senses. So you have nicely presented that how the man is causally related with the nature and the environment, and how we have to love our nature and the environment. So thank you very much. On behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India, I pay my great respect to Professor G. Somaratne ji. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So next, I am going to request Dr. Venerable Panyalok Vadinagla ji. He is head of the Department of Buddhist Philosophy and Thoughts. He is at the Postgraduate Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Colombo, Sri Lanka. So may I request Venerable Panyalok Vadinagla. He is going to present his insights on the environmental ethics. So over to Reverend Panyalok Vadinagla.
Good afternoon, everybody. And also, I would like to wish happy Vesak celebration. It's a great opportunity to join this great gathering online. And first of all, I should render my thanks to Professor Vimalendra Kumar and also to the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity. The topic that was suggested by Professor Vimalendra Kumar ji is, for me, Buddhism and environmental ethics. Actually, we learn from our previous scholars that there are many teachings within Buddhist tradition which help build build solutions and also the perspectives deal with environment properly. I have tried in my presentation to get some ideas from the subject we call environmental ethics, which has been developed in the Western philosophical tradition. As I see, there are similarities between Buddhist ethics and also Western environmental ethics. Some places get very closer to each other, and also I think Buddhism can help to enlarge the subject of environmental ethics, which is still developing. At the same time, if I refer to the subject in the subject area of Buddhist studies, I feel that when we study literature, there still the scholars who are working on Buddhism and environmental ethics is trying to formulate a Buddhist ethical theory of environment or environmental ethical theory from using the Buddhist teachings. So they propose various ideas, certain teachings like Paticcasamuppada or Kamma and also Brahma Vihara. These sort of ideas are experimented and compared or try to extend the applications. So we can see that among the scholars working on Buddhist ethics and environmental ethics, there is an ongoing endeavor to build a new subject one we can call Buddhist environmental ethics. Among the various topics, we see actually Professor Somaratna addressed very well that mind-body relationship, and finally how to dissolve it. As I understood, this is a very key, we can say a key topic in environmental ethics, how the person or the individual relates himself or herself to the environment, and also how do we perceive the other beings in the environment, how we consider them, like different theories. There are anthropocentrism is one. So according to that, it gives priority to the human. So sometimes it is challenged. I think what anthropocentric explanation about the nature. Somehow man is, we know that man is very, man occupies a significant place in the Buddhist cosmology. At the same time, categorically, what we can see is there's no doubt about the moral standing of other beings in the nature. It means each and every sentient being possesses consciousness and level of moral development. So whether we are going to empirically prove the moral standing or not, from the Buddhist teachings, and also I think even the Indian tradition, it ascribes moral standing for each sentient beings, whether it is animal or fish or whatever. So regarding that, here the conflict is sometimes some scholars try to show that because Buddhism gives a kind of lower level to animals, because this is a kind of how to say place for suffering due to immoral behavior in previous lives. So Buddhism is not really producing kind of animal care, which is we can equally treat human beings and other beings, non-human beings. I think it's not correct to say so. Even according to Buddhist theory, we have a place in the universe depending on our moral development, either in the Kama Loka or Rupa Loka or Arupa Loka. It is what we have earned through our behavior. Man occupying a higher place in the hierarchy does not mean that man can exploit animals. We know that in the current society, animals suffer a lot due to human activities in various ways, whether in the industries or medical labs, and also in the market. So many ways are there, but from the Buddhist point of view, there's no permission for such a violation of the rights of those beings, right to live. So because we learn that in the Buddhist teaching, mainly if we take metta, if we refer to the Metta Sutta in the Sutta Nipata, it says that we are to build a relationship of mother and child. between myself and the whole range of the beings. So if there are that kind of ideology, so then I think it is difficult to propose or to challenge the Buddhist idea. We have to maybe try to produce a more convincing argument or to protect the Buddhist position and the Buddhist care intellectually to this argument. It means Buddhism does not treat animals equally. Of course, even though, as I understand, animals do occupy a lower position than human being, but the Buddhist teaching, mainly the compassionate teachings and the teachings of loving kindness, do not permit any exploitation of the beings in our environment. And also another way is actually what is the way to protect the environment. There are either idea can go, any idea can go into extremes. Does the environmental ethics propose a total prevention of any activity against the nature? Or are we, then if we try to totally, of course, for example, there are wildlife, there are sometimes dilemmas are there, whether some wild areas to be used for human development or not. So in that case, how we are going to make a decision? So environmental ethics takes up this sort of challenges and try to come up with some solutions or suggestions. In that case, we can see both, they may consult either ethical theories in the West or either in the East. So in this sort of issues, when there are, so what is the position? I think Buddhism, in the context of ethical practice, came up with, and we learned from the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the middle path. So according to the middle path, we are not to go into any extreme. We know that Buddhism was not parama avihingsa. So it means sometimes without harming or minimizing the nature, still for the human benefit, we have to use. So we can't go to the extreme. At the same time, prevention, total prevention is, from the Buddhist point of view, is not possible, as I understand. And also, it does not require that kind of inactivity, passivity as the solution. And also, consumeristic approach is also problematic. We can say these are, consumerism can be termed as Kama Sukalikan Yoga today. So more to trying to satisfy ourselves more and more. So for that, we have to produce more and more. More we produce and more we acquire the goods, then higher we experience pleasure. So that also a kind of problematic behavior. So in between these two, how we are to move, I think the ethical middle path given by the Buddha in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, or Eight Noble Path, provides us a kind of space to figure out how to approach in dilemmas in solving the environmental issues. At the same time, if you learn that this one of the major issues or the causes for environmental issues today is resorted to consumerism. So consumerism has to be understood well, and even though we do not go to total abstention, but at the same time we can't praise consumerism from the Buddhist, because we learn if we connect with the Buddhist idea of desire or tanha, and also its subdivision of kama tanha, what consumerism does is promoting sense desire in us. So when sense desire is promoted, there's no limit for the human needs or the wish. So it compels him or her to more and more exploit. So I think these ideas would be valuable in developing Buddhist teachings like desire, the effect of desire, and how to manage desire. If we use the Aristotelian terms, golden middle, how to find the golden middle, the desire, how to manage in the context of environmental ethics. I think I'm going to stop here. There are some more ideas that I thought of talking, but these few ideas would be sufficient for the day. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and wish all of you happy Vesak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venerable Dr. Panyalokawadi Nagla, for giving you your nice presentation on environmental ethics. So thank you very much on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India. I pay my gratitude to Venerable Dr. Panyalokawadi Nagla. Next speaker, I am going to request most Honorable Vice Chancellor, former Vice Chancellor of Assam University, Silchar, Professor S.C. Saha. He had been Vice Chancellor of the two universities. He had been editor of the Mahabodhi Journal also for 3-4 years. And now he is also interested in all the activities of Mahabodhi Society of India. So I request our Honorable Speaker, Professor Dr. S.C. Saha.
Namo Buddhaya. Thank you very much, Professor Vimalendra Kumar. My greetings to the President of the seminar, and my gratitude to Shivli Bhante, the General Secretary, and all the members of the panel. I want to clarify one thing before I start expressing my views on the subject, that I have been basically a student and a teacher of English literature. But then after my retirement, at a ripe age, I found that Buddha is the only subject which absorbed my interest. Shakespeare, Wordsworth, Browning, T.S. Eliot, they have taken a secondary stage. And when I read Buddha, I am struck, by the lines of the English poets. This august members of this webinar, some of you must be knowing that T.S. Eliot, who got the Nobel Prize for his epic called The Wasteland, there he uses lines from Buddha. He was a student of Harvard University, and he was a student of philosophy. So when he studied the Eastern philosophy, he was so much moved by the tenets and approaches of Buddha that he planned to shave his head and become a Buddhist monk. Of course, later on he realized that he comes from an European background. But in his epic, for which he got the Nobel Prize, he used several lines from Buddha. And towards the end of the poem, which called the Wasteland, because after the First World War, the entire European situation, for him it was a wasteland. And towards the end of the poem, he quotes from Mahaparinibbana Sutta, work out your salvation with diligence. So the Buddha has given me a new light, and many questions in my mind about life. I get the answer in the teachings of Buddha. So I thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity to say a few things very directly. I'm not a Buddhist scholar like all of you, so I'll not be able to use pedantic and scholarly explanations. First of all, when I think of Buddha's life, I find that right from the beginning of this physical, historical Buddha, right from the inception or conception of Buddha in Mayavati's womb, to the end of the last day, last minute of Buddha's life, it is entirely bound up with nature. He talks about compassion for human beings, but he, as pointed out by some of my earlier speakers, that it is not only human beings, but all beings of the earth. He wanted everybody of us to show compassion. We have to live in peaceful coexistence. What is happening now is the destruction of nature because of this striding advancement of the modern civilization. And we already know what a sin we have committed. And we are suffering for that. And that's why perhaps these environmental ethics of Buddha and Buddhism is a very relevant topic, and it should be studied by all our planners, administrators, policymakers, our students, who are the future of the world. When I find that this divine white elephant enters the womb of Mayavati to give birth to Siddhartha, who will become Buddha. You see, the image of the animal, an elephant is not regarded as an animal. That is, an animal belongs to the lower class than the human beings. No, it is divine. Then what happens? He gets his birth under the shala trees. This is all, it seems, that plan that Mayavati was so enthralled by the beauty of that garden, Lumbini garden, that she wanted to pause there, rest there. She wanted to touch a sala tree, and a branch of the sala tree came down. She held it and then put her to birth when her mother was standing. So the entire episode of his birth indicates that human beings, Buddha is teaching us that human beings are a part of this natural cosmology. So they are not two separate entities. Maybe the intellect is higher, but they have to go on in harmonious existence. Then what we find, when he was a young boy, he did not enjoy joining his cousins for hunting animals. And in Panchashila, he says, do not kill. And then when this bird was shot, an arrow sent by Devadatta pierced this bird and the bird fell down. Immediately, Siddhartha caught hold of it tenderly, removed the arrow and tended the bird with the various natural herbs and brought it back to life. And when Devadatta claimed the bird, because he had shot it, he did not give it. Buddha preached peace, but it seems to me that he is one of the strongest persons of the world. Rabindranath has said that Buddha, he said it in the Mahabodhi Society in 1935, that for him, Buddha is the greatest man of the earth. I felt that when I read, he is not only greatest, but strongest man. He held on to his view, and then it was decided that the person who brought the bird to life, to him the bird belongs. And then he just allowed the bird to fly into the sky. Then, you see, in search of truth, what he did, he left palace, the gorgeous palace. He went deep into the jungle and he meditated under a huge tree. And finally, when he got the Bodhi, it was the Bodhi Vriksha. And we all know how he stared at the Bodhi tree for 7 days, because it seemed to him that this tree has given him the Bodhi. And then when he walked 7 steps, the steps are filled with lotus. And we find Bodhi image seated on a lotus. So close, human being and nature are so close. And Buddha not only preached, but through the actions of his life, he set the example for all of us. So his life is a kind of, his life shows us the book of his lessons. And then, and also, he was before he got the Bodhi, he had his birth in the Niranjana River. River also played a very important role. Then, after he had preached for 45 years, and by walking on foot throughout northern India, he preached the message of non-violence. He preached the message of peace, maitri, loving kindness, and ultimately, because he told the other disciples, do not cry, since the body is a composite being, it will die one day. And he told Anand to spread his bed under these twin sal trees. And we get the reclining Buddha under the sal trees permanently. Generation after generation, we are seeing that in painting, in sculpture, in temples. So for me, Buddha has told us through his words and through his lifestyle that we must respect our natural environment. But as Buddhism disappeared from India for a few centuries, it seems to me that even now, though we talk about it, we write about it, we hold webinar, seminar on all this, but his messages have not reached the masses. And also perhaps the policymakers on education. What I feel that we should urge the MHRD, UGC to prescribe the life and teachings of Buddha for all secondary classes under all boards, so that the message of protecting the environment given by one of the greatest men of India should be circulated everywhere. And we can, have a new life. Rabindranath Tagore, in one of his poems, he said that Buddha, you should appear again. And Swami Vivekananda, when he was giving lectures at Chicago, he said that he spoke about Buddha and he said, India requires another Buddha. And he said for America, because it was a very materialistic country, that America perhaps requires two Buddhas. So, and also in connection with this is my conclusion, that who executed Buddha's teachings throughout India and even foreign countries, it was Emperor Ashoka. He, being inspired by Buddha, his teachings, you see, in his own household, he stopped all killings of the animals. And fortunately for us, the Hindu concept of pleasing the gods in heaven by sacrificing animals, this was stopped by Buddha's arrival. Now, Ashoka, throughout India, he installed the edicts through his inscriptions, edicts throughout India, the principles that were given to us, principles of living that were given to us by Buddha. And Ashoka spread this message, and not only spread the messages, but he opened hospitals for the treatment of the animals. So I think that the performance of Ashoka in this regard should also be included in the syllabus in all our educational institutions. I take this opportunity to express my views on this subject. Of course, I'm reading a lot, and Buddha has given me a second life, and I want to learn more from him. And I thank Vimalandra Kumar, who is a good friend of mine, and all the others, love, and our Shuli Bante, who has arranged, who is the inspiration behind the holding of this great of this webinar on this great topic, environmental ethics and Buddhism. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Saha. So really, we are delighted to hear your views on that, how the life of the Buddha or the events related with the life of the Buddha, how the nature and the environment, they are correlated with each other. So you have given some of the examples that how literature cites some of the examples that how Buddha was closely related with the nature and the environment, and how you have suggested some of the views to Ministry of Education to give Buddhist education. So thank you very much for giving you wonderful talk on environment. So thank you very much. Now, before I think with the permission of our President, Mahabodhi Society of India, I will speak after him. So now I request our Honorable President, Mahabodhi Society of India, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, for giving his presidential address. And after that, I will speak for some minutes. So, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, Honorable President, over to you.
Thank you, Vimalendra Ji, so kind of you. And first of all, at the very outset, I pray Buddha, Namo Tas Bhagavato Arhato Samma Sambuddhas, Namo Tas Bhagavato Arhato Samma Sambuddhas, Namo Tas Bhagavato Arhato Samma Sambuddha. And on this pious occasion of the Buddha Purnima, which is the event of the birth, enlightenment, and Mahaparinirvan of the Gautam Buddha. So it is called triple or Trividh Pavani, triple pious occasion, Trividh Pavani, Buddha Purnima. And we are very happy and fortunate today that we, under the blessed leadership of our Venerable General Secretary P. Shivli, that he, as like today, time and again, he arranges such events, webinars, etc., whether physical or online, regarding the teachings of the Buddhism on the various topics and subjects. Today's subjects was the wonderful, the theme environmental ethics of the Buddhism, with special reference to the life of the Buddha, and all there were 4 sub-themes: ecology and Buddhism, Buddhist concept of nature, spiritual, dimensional, environmental education, human life with the nature and environment. Before me, our distinguished and learned speakers, have spoken with their mind and heart. And not only they delivered their Dham talk, but they proved their excellence in reading, understanding, and realizing the teachings of the Buddha in the same spirit as one should understand, just like Yatha Bhut. So I first of all congratulates with regard, utmost regard and salutations to our distinguished speakers, as our chief guest, Dr. Vedanath Lab, and our eminent and erudite Bhikkhuni Santini from the Indonesia, Venerable Dr. Pannalok Wading Nagla, and Professor G.A. Somratne, and our Professor Subhash Chandra Saha, Vice Chancellor retired, Assam University. I found that I cannot equate, I cannot compare, and it will be a great disservice to compare between the talent and the excellence of the speakers, because each and every in their field has the mastery on their subject, though the time was short. And in such a short period, the total views as desired by the one speaker cannot be put into the audience, and even thereafter the paucity of the time, they are well versed to synopsize the Dham talk, and they competently delivered it. And as our Professor S.C. Saha said, the teachings of the Buddha should be inculcated and should be incorporated in educational system. It is the core point. It is the basic point. And moreover, it is the missing point. We are lagging behind. That we have gone far away from the teachings of the Buddha. And if the teachings of the Buddha are incorporated in the curriculum and the syllabus of the classes of the students, then they will reach the morality, ethics, discipline, and all the manners and cultures which the Buddha wanted to inculcate into the minds. It is the first and last demand of the time, not only in India, but in the world. Because humanity is suffering. Why? The humanity is suffering so severely and so truculently, because it has lost its way on which it must have trodden, but it went in the wilderness. In the pursuit of the development, in the pursuit of the good living, in the pursuit of the good eating, in the pursuit of the good clothing, and devastating and exploiting the very nerve of our environment and nature. And now I want to say, why Buddha You know, sir, I can say with your consent, you will agree that at the time of the Buddha, the wildlife was more and the human life was less. The agriculture was less, forestry was more. And even then, why Buddha emphasized, prioritized, and forcefully applied the rules and the customs and habits into our life to protect the nature and environment. It is the reason because, as you all, our learned speakers and the audience knows well, that the person which have five aggregates are composed or formed of four Mahabhut: earth, water, fire, and Vayu. So, where do these four great elements come from? Where do these great four elements come from? So far, according to my little knowledge and how far I could understand, I found that they come from the nature and environment. What I am formed of, the environment is also formed of these four great elements. And why Buddha said that the environment, nature should be protected and saved in all respect, in letter and meaning, because not only this, he was the emancipator of the human beings, though the priority was human beings, because what he said, I do teach only two things. There is suffering, and I show the path to eradicate the suffering, to emancipate forever from the endless, countless cycle of the birth and rebirth. It is the priority. So, because human being is much more distressed and sorry in the all types of the sufferings in comparison to our non-human beings, just like animal, birds, etc. Because our desires are unlimited, and the resources are not unlimited. In comparatively, if we exploit them and we destroy them to nurture our needs, the day has come, they have depleted and they have gone, all the resources have gone to the zero. Just like our honorable chief guest told that in the South Africa example, Cape Town, it has been declared waterless city. Why? All the mountains have been mined, made hollow, and there is no ice and there is no snowfall there. The water comes from the accumulation of the snowfalls on the mountains, which you use round the year. When mountains are not there, snowfall is not there, then rivers and our water resources will be out of existence. So now, why the Buddha emphasized that the environment should be protected and non-humans should be protected? He said the kammic theory. Kammic theory. What? The kamma is the seed. and what we do, we will get. So he, with his enlightenment, Samma Sambodhi pursued that. When I do the wholesome karma in my this existence, if not liberated, I will get a good state of human beings in the human realm. And if not, I do the unwholesome, I will get the Duggati and the very miserable state, just like the animals, any creatures. So many species and so many races are there in the universe, countless. So Buddha, what Buddha said? He said, if I today become a very cruel person and I don't give donation, liberation, and charity and dan, etc., if I get in the next existence as an animal, why Buddha said the Panatipata? He said that animal which you are butchering today may be your father in the previous existence. He must have been your forefathers or your children who died in the young age. It is the connectivity. What the Buddha said, why he stopped this, all the slaughter and the butchering the animals, and why he said, and he also said that these non-humans and all these living beings on the earth in the universe, they also are fond of the four great elements, and they sustain and they gain and they receive all these great four elements from the environment. If we finish the environment, the flora and fauna and all these, now, sir, you are in this age, must be vividly and candidly you can say all the wildlife and the creature life you used to see in the villages during the rainy season, during the winter, where all have they gone? Disappeared. The earthworm has disappeared and everything has disappeared. The frogs have disappeared. The turtles have appeared. When the rains used to be, heavy rains used to be there, the little froglets used to come into our home to seek the dry place. So where have they gone? They have been sacrificed by us by devastating and destroying the environment. So human race is also losing its age, because what is my body? If I take one, when you get for the testing and you get and the pathologist take one drop from your blood, he can tell you what is the quantity and what the ratio of the sodium, zinc, potassium, magnesium, iron. What is this? This is from environment. These are the minerals in our environment and natures. What are they doing in my body? Because my body is made of the four great elements: earth, water, air, and fire and air. So we are interdependent with the nature and environment. This is the great philosophy. It is the no survival. I can say even no survival without the environment, without nature, because we assimilate by nature. Our body is not different from the environment, and all the vital fragments or in the minerals which are available in the environment are also within my five aggregate. How can I say different from that? How can I survive without that? When I destroy the nature, how the sodium and the potassium which we get through fruits and the vegetables and from the leaves and from the barks of the trees, how can we survive without that? So on this occasion, again, it is a such topic that our each speaker may speak for hours and for the days, because Buddha's philosophy, which our professor Subhash Chandra Saha ji has told, that I'm very happy to hear from his mouth today that he has read everything, Shakespeare, etc., so many others, but he likes to live and to read the Buddha. And I think he's a living legend and living his life in the real sense, because Buddhism is not a religion, it's a way of life. How to live, splendidly, courteously. So I again thanks my all speakers and Vimalendra Kumar and all the Santini Bhikkhuni ji, that they have spared their time from their valuable business and they gave the valuable thoughts on this day in this webinar online. So again, I
Thank you.
congratulate them and my bow in my head in reverence before them. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much, sir. So with the permission of our Honorable President of Mahabodhi Society of India, Dr. Mahendra Singh ji, I would like to request one of the greatest scholars of Buddhism from Ukraine, Mr. Konstantin Glebovich. So there is a communication gap from the Mahabodhi Society of India. The last moment I could not get the latest updated list from the Mahabodhi Society of India. So he is present in this our August gathering. So may I request Konstantin Glebovich to present his views. He is related with one of the great scholar of Buddhist art and painting, Professor G. Roerich, who was a great scholar of Buddhism of United States of Russia. And he is also our Konstantin Glebovich of Ukraine. He is quite aware of the works of the Professor Roerich. So may I request Konstantin Glebovich to present his views on this very topic of environmental ethics, with a special reference to teachings of the Buddha. Mr. Konstantin Glebovich.
Thank you very much, Professor Vimalendra Kumar. Ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon. I'm very honored and I'm very happy to join the Mahabodhi Society event today on occasion of Buddha Purnima. I represent Odessa Roerich Museum in Ukraine. And of course, first thing came to my mind that Nicholas Roerich, the great Russian artist, philosopher, traveler, peacemaker, corresponded for many years with Mahabodhi Society and sent his greeting on Buddha Purnima Day for many years in a row. So before I go to my topic, I would like to start with quotation from Nicholas Roerich address to Mahabodhi Society on occasion of Buddha Purnima from 1930. I quote, "Peace to all beings. It's a great joy to send a welcome to Mahabodhi Society, which with such delicacy and refinement, this society pursues its noble work. All addresses of their founder and leader, Anagarika Dharmapala, are imbued with devotion and compassion, which evoke in hearts the most precious feelings. In touching the heart, that realm of light, we touch the real treasure. A true disciple can be realized as a result of wide understanding, containment, and compassion. With the highest feeling, I always remember my meetings with representatives of Buddhist world. I keep as a precious token the message sent to me by one of the leaders of Buddhism in Japan, Archbishop Noguchi, and the head priest of famous temple of Kandy writes on a palm leaf a touching address to the West, full of peaceful calls. Most valuable sound, all greetings of High Lamas from Mongolia, Tibet, and Sikkim. Verily, peace to all beings. On this great day, so many remarkable and beautiful texts come to one's memory. With reverence, we can imagine how many people pay their respects this day to the great conception of Lord Buddha. And after the thousands of volumes dedicated to this uplifting cause, we see once more how simple is the truth. So simple that it can be inscribed upon a palm of a hand. Love, labor, self-perfection, and incessant noble action are the evoking call of the great lion. End of quote. Today, when our planet is going through a particular difficult time of division and separation, it is a special honor for me to take part in today's event, to salute you and extend my warm and heartfelt greetings from Europe, from Ukraine, from my colleagues from Odessa Rory House Museum. My short address today is spiritual transformation of people as a key for solving ecological problem. In modern society, all environmental issues are becoming increasingly important. In the long term, this is also a matter of human survival. As Nicholas Roerich wrote about almost 100 years ago, and I quote, "A speedy, almost dazzling passage through nature does not mean cooperation with it. And now, in the midst of confusion and in days gripped with anger, one must recognize true values. It would seem as if nature were inexhaustible, yet the castrated spirit, the robots, the mechanics of technocracy can cover even the greatest spaces with their debris. And no one who cuts down a tree even thinks of planting a new one. Only with general culture, which will recall the true values, may anyone primarily attract the farmers again to the soil. Then knowledge, education, broad tolerance, reconciliation will recall joyous labor again, instead of merry pastimes." End of quote. Often, modern environmental forums and conferences approach the issue of ecology from a formal point of view. They propose to act through restrictions and regulations, but it is becoming more and more obvious that the issues of solving global problems, and in particular the environmental problem, must be approached from a different angle. One can ask the question, is it possible to have flourishing nature with the present state of mind of the majority of mankind? Indeed, for many people, the main goal of their life is to receive selfish pleasures from life, excessive comfort. It becomes obvious that a real change in state of global environment can be achieved only with the change and spiritual transformation of a man himself. A mindset change is needed. As Professor George Roerich, the eldest son of Nicholas Roerich, who, by the way, was also in correspondence with Mahabodhi Society in latest 50s last century, said that when people try to solve any problem, whether it is moral problem or environmental problem, without ontological, philosophical grounds, then, at least in Western society, nothing will work. So people need to have philosophical and ethical grounds to proceed. And one can start with small basic things, with education, with self-education, start to have a mindful approach to nature. Mindfulness, this is what Buddhist philosophy primarily teaches. In addition, Buddha teachings can help people to understand the root of problem. It can also help to explain the reason why certain actions towards nature are destructive. Here are some points for the consideration. Number one, nature and man are all one, unseparated. The Buddhist worldview teaches that in the manifested world, all phenomena, dharmas, are interdependent and relative. Actually, earlier today, Professor Samaratna mentioned this already. When a person is ill, and now we clearly see how ill humanity is, it means that the planet is also ill. Humanity, which is not developing spiritually, will inevitably lead the planet to a terrible catastrophe. It seems necessary to introduce such a concept as ecology of man. Man is a part of nature, and by transforming our inner nature, in other words, our human ecology, our thoughts and feelings, transforming our mind, we will thereby transform our ecology, the ecology of our planet. Number 3, the ecology of man is in his spiritual purity. This is also a person's understanding what should be his place on our earth, his understanding of responsibility, not only for his deeds, but above all for his thoughts, for his feelings. We hear nowadays so often on the news that human activities have led to environmental pollution. But does a person think how he or she pollutes our planet with his or her imperfect thoughts, with his or her unkind and often unworthy emotions? It seems that the cleansing of the environment, the purification of our planet, should begin with refinement of our minds from ignorance, from aggression, from all negative thoughts and emotions. And once again, I would like to quote Nicholas Roerich. I quote, "Vast is drought of the soil, but still more vast is the spiritual drought. Let us hope that in the irrigative worries, not only the irrigation of soil, but also the inspirations of the human spirit will be taken into consideration. Without these spiritual irrigations, neither the forest planting, nor grass seeding, nor discovery of real sources will take place. All these most essential conditions will only come about when people shall actually realize them, and above all, love them. In love, the quality of labor will be transformed. In love, the deserts will bloom again." End of quote. Next one, number 4, another extremely important point. And I'm talking about new scientific and new technological discoveries. Often researches and experiments are carried out under the hypocritical cover of mercy and help of humanity. And under the guise of beautiful words, violence is committed both against humanity and the environment. Therefore, it seems we need more urgent than ever to raise the question of the great importance of ethics in science, of the responsibilities of scientists. Scientific ethics should be based on true philosophical principles, so researchers can clearly understand the consequences for their experiments. Scientists need to understand what impact their experiments will have on the ecology of our planet, on the ecology of man. And number 5, the last one. One can notice that recently quite some people desperately want to prolong their lives at any cost. They have enormous fear of death. And as a result of such a mindset, people, and especially young people, want to receive their greatest possible things of life here and now. Again, the spiritual balance is broken, which cannot but affect the human environment. The Buddhist teaching says we need to be conscious of death. We need to be aware of such fundamental factors as karma and reincarnation, and need to transfer this knowledge to younger generation so they can understand that most important thing in life are spiritual perfection, self-perfection, the transformation of emotional nature, the transformation of mental nature. Taking into account all of the above, it must be said that in the end, the recovery of our planet the recovery of nature, the ecology of our planet Earth cannot occur without a fundamental change of human mind. Another quote from Nicholas Roerich. Those are the lines from the teachings of Agni Yoga. I quote, "It is right to repeat about the sickness of the planet. It is right to understand the desert as the shame of humanity. It is right to direct one's thinking towards nature. It is right to turn one's thought to the task of cooperation with nature. It is right to recognize that the plunder nature is to squander the treasures of the people. It is right to rejoice at nature as the refuge from fiery epidemics. He who does not think about nature does not know the abode of spirits." End of quote. Those were some of my thoughts, which I want to share with you today. And the last thing, since these days the entire Buddhist world is celebrating Buddha Purnima, I would like to conclude my speech with the words from the book Foundations of Buddhism, written by Helena Roerich, a writer, a philosopher, the wife of Nicholas Roerich. I quote, "The Pali Suttas contain many vivid definitions of the high qualities of Gautama, the teacher, who indicated the path. Let us mention some of them. He is the leader of the caravan, the founder, the teacher, the incomparable trainer of men. Humanity was rolling like a cartwheel on the way to its destruction. Lost without guide and protector, he indicated to it the right path. He is the Lord of the wheel of benevolent law. He is the lion of the law. He is a wondrous physician. By compassionate means, he cures dangerously sick people. The venerable Gautama is a plowman. He is filled with immortality. He is the light of the world. He is the light of the world. He it is who lifts one from earth. He it is who unveils that which is concealed. He it is who carries the torch in the darkness, in order that those who have eyes may see. Thus Gautama illumined his teaching from all sides. He is the liberator. He liberates because he himself has been liberated." End of quote. Thank you very much again. I really had a pleasure to join this event today. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Mr. Konstantin Glivik. So we are really delighted to hear the words of the Nicholas Roerich also, and how you have interpreted the nature and environment, and how the nature and environment have been interpreted in Buddhist suttas. So thank you very much. So before I come to the end, let me speak for a few minutes with the permission of our Honorable President, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji. Just we have been discussing about the environmental ethics with a special reference to life of the Buddha and teachings of the Buddha also. So in environmental ethics can be applied in our day-to-day life with the teachings of Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path, or Law of Dependent Originations. But especially I am going to discuss that how theory of interdependence or law of dependent originations has been discussed with the nature and environment, with a special reference to Buddhism also. So, as we know that there is no concept of Almighty God, there is no creator. Everything is dependent on cause and conditions, and whatever the things which are coming in our day-to-day life, they are based upon the cause and conditions, Hetu and the Pratyaya. And these have been nicely presented by our Acharya Nagarjuna in the text Madhyamakarika. And when he is discussing about the Pratitya Samutapad, that is the law of dependent originations or theory of interdependence. He gives the three aspects of theory of interdependence. That is the idam pratyayata, then nisvabhavata, and praspar ashrayata. These are the three aspects which have been discussed in a very detailed manner by Acharya Nagarjuna. When he says about the idam pratyayata, it is said that everything is dependent on some cause and conditions. Whatever the dhammas which are taking place in our day-to-day life, they are based upon the hetu and the pratyaya. When he is talking about the nisvabhavata, that it means that mental and non-mental things are devoid of any essence, and everything is dependent on cause and conditions. And he says that all things are subject to impermanence, and that is why people are in a state of suffering, and the things are also subjected to soulless also. So this is the theory which has been discussed in Madhyamakarika when he is discussing about the nisvabhavata. The last aspect of Pratitya Samutapad, when Acharya Nagarjuna he is discussing, he is saying about the Paraspar Ashrayata, that there are four things which are related with the Paraspar Ashrayata, that is the mutual dependence, coexistence, cooperation, and co-enjoyment. These four things which are related with the Paraspar Ashrayata. And when we are talking about the man, nature, and environment, these four aspects, that is the mutual dependence, coexistence, cooperation, and co-enjoyment, these things are called is how the man is related with the nature and how the nature is causally related with the environment. How a personality in the form of mind and matter is related with the man, the animals, and the plants, and how the animals and plants are also causally related with the environment. We have to depend on the man, nature, as well as animals and plants also. The environment and the animals and plants are also dependent on the man also. So these are also called as Paraspar Ashrayata. And when in the text of Abhidharma Kosh, Acharya Vasubandhu, he is discussing about the theory of interdependence. He is saying that the nature of the environment, there are four things. They are the paucity, persistence, formations, and dissolutions. These are the four things which are discussing about the theory of interdependence. And whenever we are talking about these four things, paucity, formations, persistence, and the dissolutions, these are nothing but these are the nature and the environment. How the things are taking place in our day-to-day life, and how these four aspects are also related with the nature and environment. So these four things are very related with these things. In the Pali commentaries, Acharya Buddha Ghosh, especially in the commentary of Dhammasangani, Attasalani, and his magnum opus work, Visuddhimagga, Acharya Buddha Ghosh discusses about the 5 types of niyam, that is the law: Kamma niyam, Chit niyam, Utu niyam, Bij niyam, and Dhamma niyam. These are the 5 types of rules which he discusses about the man, nature, and the environment, how the man, nature, and environment are causally related with each other. And whenever he is discussing about the Dhamma niyam, he says that all the persons are subjected to impermanence, and since the men are in the state of impermanence, they are causally related with the suffering. And when the persons are causally related with the suffering, they are subject to soulless. So all things are subject to theory of interdependence. So these things have been nicely discussed in our commentaries by the Acharyas also. So how these things have been very much discussed in our discipline. So nature, human beings need to live in a close harmony, and plants and animals should be our objects of unlimited love and compassion also. on the love and compassion. Our Professor S.C. Saha has been discussing very detail, and how the loving kindness and the compassion and benevolence can be given to the animals and the plants as well as to the natures also. How these are the need of the society as well as to the country or to the whole globe. These can be discussed also. So environment can be pollution free also, and development can be continued through the Buddhist approach of practicing compassion, especially loving kindness and universal friendliness. With these words, I am thankful to our Honorable President and other members. So, lastly, I am requesting our trustee of Mahabodhi Society of India, Dr. Surendra Kumar Mahapatra, to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India. Dr. Surendra Kumar Mahapatra, over to you.
विमलेंद्र जी, क्या हमारे भंते जी नहीं है जनरल सेक्रेटरी साहब का?
नहीं, ये प्रपोज ऑफ नहीं, वोट ऑफ थैंक्स के बाद उनसे ब्लेसिंग्स के लिए हम लोग रिक्वेस्ट कर लेंगे।
इसीलिए मैं कह रहा हूं।
यस, we have just received
he had to leave. Dr. Singh, he had to leave for some urgent work. So anyway, thank you, Professor Bimalendra Kumar ji, for allowing me to offer vote of thanks. In fact, the entire international webinar on this subject is a process of learning and realization. Each and every sentences by the esteemed speakers, right from Professor Baidyanath Lab, Professor Subhash Chandra Saha to Konstantin Gilvich, everybody has enlightened us with their wisdom. So I would like to thank all the speakers, but a special thanks to Konstantin when he says that unless we cleanse ourselves, we will not be able to cleanse the environment. So first, we must cleanse ourselves. Every person has to cleanse through the path of Buddha. Very beautifully he had elucidated. So I am really grateful to him. And Professor Subhash Chandra Saha, how with a lot of humility, he said that he was a student and teacher of literature, English literature, and how Buddha displaced all people, all the eminent writers like Shakespeare and Eliot from his mind, slowly at a later stage of his life. Very, with all humility, he described. And almost all the speakers have elucidated in a very nice, very lucid manner about the impact of Buddhist philosophy on environment. And I am grateful to personally and on behalf of the to all of them. I thank all of them. And last, I must speak that Professor Bimalendra Kumar, who has been anchoring the entire meeting, and he is an authority on Buddhism and Buddhist. So he represented the entire webinar in a very nice manner, and the way all the participants will be able to not only get that knowledge, but to realize. So the way he has brought in impermanence, the dependent origination into the subject, that was simply mind-blowing. And our president, as all of you know, our president, Dr. Mahendra Singh, he is not only a storehouse of knowledge on Buddhism. That's a very small part. He's a realized soul. He has realized the essence of Buddhism within himself, and he has been pursuing and he has been teaching he has been spreading Buddhism, the Buddhist ideals to all and sundry in every week in Dharma Sabhas. So that was simply, I haven't seen such an extraordinary person in my life other than Dr. Mahendra Singh. The way the Binay, all of you understand Binay, the way he has shown humility in expressing Buddhist ideals to all the listeners, all the participants. For last 3 years, I have been following his speeches. So it was simply extraordinary. So I must also thank him from my bottom of my heart, along with Professor Bimalendra Kumar ji and all these esteemed speakers once again, with a special thanks to Konstantin. The way he told, that was also a realization for me, because we all are human beings and there is a propensity to fall into the trap of greed, so many bad things, maras, which Dr. Mahendra Singh has rightly elucidated. The maras, how to get out of those maras. So first we must cleanse ourselves. So special thanks to him. Once again, thanks to all the esteemed participants of this wonderful session. With that, I will be privileged to offer my, not only thanks, my gratitude to Most Venerable P. Sioli Thero, the General Secretary of Mahabodhi Society of India, who is the guiding spirit of all these deliberations. So unless his leadership, if there would not have been his leadership and Dr. Mahendra Singh's leadership, I think all these deliberations would not have been happening, because I have been associated with this organization for a pretty long period. I have never seen before 3 years such deliberations, such narrations, such meetings, such realization in the past. So my special gratitude to Most Venerable P. Sioli Thero and Dr. Mahendra Singh ji. With this, I think offer my vote of thanks again to all participants and all the esteemed speakers. Thank you. Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you very much. At the end, I would like to also pay my heartiest gratitude to Dr. Surendra Kumar Mahapatra ji for proposing vote of thanks. We are really thankful to Dr. Mahendra Singh ji, President of Mahabodhi Society of India, Honorable former Vice Chancellor Professor S.C. Saha, Dilip Kumar Barua ji, Constantine Glivik, and other research scholars of Banaras University, Ali Malik, Sudhir Kumar Maurya, and Mrs. Usha Bodh, Sri Sahai ji, Sachin Sunil Kolkar. There are other persons who have joined there. So Nagisan Longdi, Neeraj Kumar Nirbhay, Sunil Thotkar, and all the persons, Dr. Mukesh Mehta and Vishakhanand Vonsare. So other persons, those who have joined on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India, we are thankful to all of you for joining this international webinar and making it a great success. Thank you all. See you tomorrow in the next this continuation of the international webinar. We are again meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock. There are 5-6 speakers also. They are going to present their paper on this very topic. So thank you. We are looking forward to see you again tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Thank you.
थैंक यू। सभी को साधुवाद मेरी तरफ से, सभी को नमो बुद्धाय।
Namo Buddhaya.
सभी को साधुवाद, नमो बुद्धाय, नमो बुद्धाय।
Yeah, that's